correspondent. Laura, a good morning to you. Thank you so much for giving us your time. What time are we expecting that announcement?
Well, it's about 12:30 here in the UK, so 3.5 hours time, when we will hear from the 1922 committee, a group of MPs that have basically run this vote to decide the next Conservative leader. They will announce who has won this ballot. Of course, we've had Liz Truss, the current Foreign Secretary. We've got Rishi Sunak, he's the other contender, the former Chancellor of the Exchequer. They've been going head to head in a number of debates over the last few weeks, both broadcast nationally to the public, but also in a series of hustings events where they've been trying to press on the Conservative membership that they are the person that is right for this job. Now, we will, as I say, hear the results of that vote in around 3.5 hours' time. That person will become the leader of the Conservative Party and ultimately the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom as well.
Now, give us a little bit of background on the two candidates here. Tell us a little bit about Rishi Sunak himself.
Rishi Sunak, as I said, the former Chancellor of the Exchequer, he was a relative unknown until the COVID-19 pandemic arrived around the world. He led the government's response to that in terms of funding people, offering furlough packages and bailout packages essentially to a lot of businesses and individuals to ensure that people could afford to live while they weren't working because of COVID-19 restrictions in place. He resigned a few weeks before Boris Johnson decided to hand in his resignation as Prime Minister. It's believed that both he and Sajid Javid, another quite prominent MP here in the United Kingdom, were one of the reasons why Boris Johnson eventually toppled from that post. And then we've also got Liz Truss. She's the Foreign Secretary. She's quite vocal in terms of looking at ways to cut taxes. That's one of her big pledges for the Conservative Party membership and ultimately the rest of the United Kingdom's population. And she's a bit more of a right-wing candidate if we're looking at the sort of spectrum of things. Rishi Sunak had said that it's not right to cut taxes. He's been going hard on Liz Truss for that. But it seems at the moment that the Conservative membership seem to believe that Liz Truss and that sort of more hardline Conservative approach is the way that they want this to go.
Yeah, but if she takes the position, she would essentially be the third female Prime Minister of the UK.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had Margaret Thatcher, then Theresa May, and then it would be Liz Truss. But she's coming in at a very difficult time. It's not just recovery from the pandemic that she's going to have to deal with, but also this surge in energy prices that we're seeing across Europe and also in the United Kingdom as well. There's been a lot of criticism at the government for not stepping in, bailing out businesses, offering more money to the public in order to help them pay their energy bills, with a number of people worried, a number of analysts worried, that actually households could be seeing bills in the range of around £4,000 next year. That's up from a price cap that was less than half of that. So there's a real concern about how people are going to live, and that will be one of the key issues that Liz Truss is going to have to tackle when she gets into number 10, if she gets into number 10. And indeed, Rishi Sunak will also have to deal with that if he is announced the winner. But as I say, at the moment, a lot of the polling, a lot of the expectations from bookmakers is that Liz Truss will be the one that gets those keys.
And what are we hearing currently from the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, right now? What is he up to? What is he saying? And how's he feeling about all these shifts that are taking place?
Well, he will be basically preparing to hand over the reins to the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Tomorrow he'll have to head up to Balmoral in Scotland, where he'll meet with the Queen, and that will be the sort of official handing over process. He'll meet with her, and then the next Prime Minister will come in behind him, and that responsibility will be passed over to them. Now, he has said that he, of course, is going to put a lot of the decision-making into the next Prime Minister's hands. He's been sort of taking a bit of a back step over the last few weeks and saying that his parliament at the moment is effectively a caretaker government, not actually going to push any policies. And a lot of the decision-making he has been shoving on to whoever is going in next. Now, we're expecting to hear from Boris Johnson at some point, handing over those reins, making a speech, and maybe it will be then that we hear how he's feeling. But at the moment, there must be a lot of shifts happening behind the scenes and that preparation to leave that famous door.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a thing to watch the power shifts as they continue to take place in the UK. You know, you think about how many prime ministers the Queen herself has overseen. I mean, it really is quite a thing to see, isn't it?
It really is, and she has been a constant over the decades with these massive shifts, not just between the prime ministers themselves, but of course as we move between different political parties that do lead the United Kingdom. And in terms of the Conservative Party itself and this government, we've obviously gone from Theresa May to Boris Johnson now to the next Prime Minister. It's been a very quick turnover, and there is a lot of discussion generally within the public about how fast this is happening. And people trying to remember really when they voted in a Prime Minister at a general election that stayed for the full term and until the final general election that then kicked their party out of government. So there have been a lot of shifts. There's been a lot of unrest, I suppose, within parties and within Parliament, a lot of infighting, people really grappling to try to be the favourite among the population. And of course, we've got the opposition party, Labour, as well, that is really pushing hard on the Conservatives now, really trying to make them step in, offer up a support package to households in order to ensure that people can survive this energy crisis. There is a lot of movement, and it's not going to be easy for whoever gets those keys to number 10 to settle this down and really come up with their plan and their policy to push forward. We understand that Liz Truss has said that she could have an energy package ready within a few weeks, that actually her team has been working on this for the last 2 or 3 weeks, getting things in motion. But we just don't know until they are announced formally as that winner who will be the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And it's only then that they can absolutely confirm what they want to do and take those plans to Parliament in Westminster behind me.
I mean, an energy package within a few weeks is a very big promise to be making to citizens of the United Kingdom. What are the citizens actually saying? I mean, what's the narrative that's now being created or being shared by the public?
People are really concerned. Obviously, we've had a price cap on the amount of bills we'd had to pay, for our gas and electricity. That's been capped for quite a while, and that basically would say to suppliers they're only allowed to charge a certain amount per unit of energy they use, and then also for a standing charge per day, so effectively paying for homes to be linked up to the national grid and get those energy supplies to their houses. But there is a lot of concern. People are worried about the amount that they're going to have to pay, and for a lot of people that are on the breadline, already just about making ends meet, there is a real worry that it could tip them over into fuel poverty, and they might have to choose between heating or eating. There's been strikes taking place across the United Kingdom as well. People concerned that there haven't been pay rises over the last few years that are falling in line with inflation. Inflation rates are soaring, and consequently the cost of living is overall going up. The price that people are having to pay at the supermarkets as well for their food is really starting to raise. So there is an issue with this among the general population, and I'm sure that there will be plenty of people asking for more from the government. And there is a real concern that if there isn't a decent support package put in place, an intervention by the government, that there could be more protests, more strikes going forward into the winter when that stress really starts to hit families.
I mean, this is a tough one, but I'm keen to see, you know, who you think is the candidate most likely to take it. But also, Laura, take us through the process of what happens, right? The announcement is made, and then the proceedings after that. What does that program then look like?
Yeah, well, the announcement will be made in around 3.5 hours' time. Yep, 12:30 here in the United Kingdom. That announcement will be made by the 1922 committee. That's a group of Conservative MPs that sort of have a bit of sway over whether or not the Conservative Party is deemed to have confidence in the Prime Minister. So they have been running this vote, taking in these ballots from members of the Conservative Party, not just members of Parliament that sit in that building behind me, but also members of the public that have signed up to say that they are part of the Conservative Party. They have had their say through a postal ballot. Those votes have been added up, and soon the winner will be announced. Then we're expecting to hear a speech from that winner, whether it is Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak. At the moment, as I say, the odds-on favourite is Liz Truss. It appears that she is the one that has been running away with this across the whole of the hustings events and weeks worth of debates that have taken place. Just last night, Rishi Sunak appeared to say that he was expecting to lose, that he would support the government that is put in place, and that is his role now, he says. But of course, we can't be sure until that vote is officially, or that result is officially announced. So we'll have that speech from the winner. Then we expect to hear perhaps from Boris Johnson, and then the two people will then prepare to head up to Balmoral in Scotland. That's where Her Majesty the Queen is spending her summer. They will prepare to meet her in person, and it is Her Majesty the Queen that will then allow this new government to be formed with whoever the UK Prime Minister is.
Well, we'll be keeping a close eye on things, and thank you so much for the latest. That's our correspondent in the UK, Laura Makin-Isherwood. It is 10 o'clock, the top of the hour. Let's take a look at your headlines.